All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT exam practice series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Your son asks for the song Sleigh Ride all throughout the Christmas season while in the car, and you always played it for them. Now, when they ask for Sleigh Ride, you don't play the song. What are you doing relative to their request? Question is asking about your behavior relative to your son's request. First thing we always do in behavior questions is identify whose behavior we're looking at. So we're looking at your behavior. What are you doing in this particular scenario? Well, your son is asking for a song and you played it for him. Now, when they ask for the song, you don't play the song. So think about this. Before, your son would ask for the song, you would give or play the song for your son, providing positive reinforcement for asking. And so your son continued to ask for the song because of the positive reinforcement. Now, when they ask for the song, you don't provide reinforcement. So you're withholding reinforcement for asking for the song. And when we withhold reinforcement, what do we call that? A, positive punishment. Well, you're not adding anything, one, so it can't be positive. And two, you're not punishing the request. You're not adding something or taking away something. You just aren't providing reinforcement. And the main difference between punishment and extinction is with extinction, you're withholding reinforcement, whereas punishment, you're adding or removing something. So you're withholding something here. What about B, negative reinforcement? Well, again, you're not taking anything away. That can be negative, and you're not reinforcing the behavior with anything. What you're doing is putting that behavior on extinction. Again, previously, your son would ask for the song. You would positively reinforce asking by playing the song. Now, when they ask for the song, you withhold reinforcement because you're not playing the song. But what you're doing is putting their extinction on, or their request on extinction. Again, negative punishment. We're not taking something away. We're just withholding something. Understand the difference between punishment, which is adding or removing something as a consequence, and extinction, which is withholding reinforcement for a previously reinforced behavior as the consequence. John is looking through the NFL playoff schedule to see who won and who lost. John sees that the Cowboys lost again in humiliating fashion. What skill is John using to tell who the winners are and who the losers are? Kind of an abstract question. We're looking at John's behavior and his skill. And John is identifying winners and he's identifying losers. And how is he doing that? Well, he's going through the schedule. So if you can kind of think about that, John is going through each game and picking out this is the winner, this is the loser. So what skill would be required to identify different winners and different losers based on results or scores or whatever John is using to pick the winners and the losers? A, stimulus discrimination. Does John need to discriminate between stimuli? Well, of course. How else is he going to tell who won and who lost without being able to discriminate between the two? So being able to discriminate either between scores or a winner and loser marking, whatever John is using to identify winners and losers, he's going to have to discriminate between stimuli to get there. What about response differentiation? Response differentiation is different than stimulus discrimination because response differentiation involves different responses. John isn't engaging in different responses. He's identifying winners and losers. What he's doing, though, is discriminating between those teams that won and lost. He's not differentiating his responses. Differential reinforcement teaches both discrimination and differentiation, but they're two different skills. Discrimination is like when you are identifying blue versus red. Differentiation is like when you are pointing at red versus grabbing the red card. One is the stimuli, one is the response. He's not engaging in functional communication. He's not speaking to anybody or communicating any needs or wants, and he isn't following instructions. He's not going through receptive language. He's not following instructions. John is simply going through the schedule, picking out who won and lost, using stimulus discrimination. You want to increase your typing speed. Currently, you type 50 words per minute. You want to double that. What would be best to change about your behavior? We pick measurement based on our goals. So, what is our goal here? We want to double our typing speed. And in order to double our typing speed, we'll likely need to increase something or maybe decrease something. Currently, we have 50 words per minute. What is the easiest, simplest way to double your typing speed? We'll just double 50 words per minute to 100 words per minute. And how would we do that? What type of measurement are we using? Well, we would just use rate. We have our frequency, 50 words. We have our time per minute. Currently, we have 50 words per minute. To double that, we need 100 words per minute. So if we look at A, frequency is only going to be concerned with how many words we type. Meaning, if I type 100 words, that doesn't mean anything unless it's in the context of time, because we're trying to speed up or double my speed. So I need the time component. Frequency does not have the time component. Rate does. When we say 50 words per minute, we're talking about rate. So B looks good. What about duration? Well, we're not necessarily saying how long we type for. We're looking at how fast we can type. So not how long we can sit and type. We're not worried about that. So duration isn't really relevant based on current information. And then latency. Latency would be the time from the SD to your first words you type. Into response time now, if we decreased into response time between words typed, maybe we could speed up our typing speed. But into response time is not an option. So given our options, given we already know we type 50 words per minute, the easiest, most straightforward way to double our typing speed would be to change the rate. We already have a rate. Let's just try and double that rate. Deprivation and satiations are two motivating operations. Motivating operations temporarily alter the value of the what? Kind of a definition question, but it's important because motivating operations can be challenging. When we talk about MOs, motivating operations are antecedents. They come before the SDs, and they temporarily alter the value of what? Do motivating operations alter the value of antecedents? Well, no, because motivating operations are antecedents. So if we think about deprivation and satiation, deprivation is you're not getting enough of something. So if I deprive you of water, what happens to the value of water the longer you're deprived? Well, that value goes up. What if I satiate you on chocolate chip cookies, meaning I give you a whole bunch of chocolate chip cookies? As you eat more chocolate chip cookies, the value of those cookies go down. So when you're talking motivating operations, getting a consequence is either increasing or decreasing in value. So motivating operations alter the value of the C consequence. It's not the response, right? Because motivating operations, while they can temporarily evoke responses, they don't alter the value of the response. When we talk about value, we're talking in terms of consequences. And motivating operations through deprivation and satiations can alter the value of those consequences. You, a behavior technician, are receiving feedback from your supervising analyst regarding how you deliver your prompts during discrete trial training. You feel that your prompts are fine and don't need to be changed. What should you do? This is directly related to the task list item about taking feedback. As a technician, you're going to be getting a lot of feedback from your supervisors, and you have to get good at implementing that feedback and communicating how you feel about that feedback. In this case, you're the technician, you get feedback about prompts. You think your prompts are fine and that they don't need to be changed. So you're in a difficult spot here, right? Because you say, well, I'm doing everything right. I think they're working. My supervisor says, no, I want you to change them. Here's some feedback. What should you do? A, ignore the feedback and continue prompting your way if it is working. Well, you can't do that. You can't just ignore feedback from your supervisor. Even if you don't agree with it, even if you know it's wrong 100%, you can't just ignore your supervisor. So A is out. B, pretend to take the feedback but continue prompting your way. B is probably worse than A. You can't pretend you're listening and changing what you're doing at session and then you don't do it. Because ultimately, the goal is to help the client. And so you could be hurting the client by pretending you're doing something you're not. So B is out. C, discuss your perspective with your supervisor, but implement their feedback moving forward. This is the best answer so far. Give your perspective. Why do you think your prompts are fine? Implement the feedback. And then as you're implementing the feedback, you can continue discussing with them how you feel about the prompting during the discrete trial training. This way, you're doing both. You're communicating, but you're also implementing feedback as directed. Now, what about D? Implement the feedback without questioning your supervisor. C is better than D because D implies you don't communicate with your supervisor and that you don't have a voice, which just isn't true. As a technician, you're part of the team. You have a voice. Whatever you feel, you need to talk about with your supervisor. So D is worse than C because D does not involve communication. C is the best answer here. You're going to discuss your perspective with your supervisor, but you're going to implement the feedback moving forward until it works. It doesn't work, something changes. Given our answer choices, C is the strongest, best answer. Tommy is walking around the kitchen while saying cup, spoon, fork each time he sees that object. What is this called? All right, we have a verbal behavior question. I always say, if you've been watching my videos a while, as RBTs, you might not necessarily be tested on verbal behavior, but you want to be familiar with mands, echoics, tacts, and interverbals. That's the language we're going to be using in practice. A mand, A, is a request, so you're asking for something, a want or a need. An echoic, B, is when you copy something somebody says. A tact, C, is a label. And then an interverbal, D, is conversational or answering a question. So what is Tommy doing? Well, he's walking around the kitchen. He's saying cup, he's saying spoon, he's saying fork when he sees that object. So is Tommy manding for these objects? Not necessarily. He's not asking or requesting these objects. Is he echoing somebody? Is he copying somebody? Again, we don't see anybody else speaking here, so it can't be an echoic. Is Tommy labeling? It seems to be the case that he is labeling. He sees an object and he labels it. Cup, spoon, fork. He seems to be tacting. Is it an interverbal? Is he answering a question? Is he having a conversation? There's no other speaker there. Tommy's more or less talking to himself. As far as we know, he's not echoing. He's not engaging conversation. He's not making a request. He's simply walking around, seeing these items and labeling. Again, you might not be tested on these, but you want to be familiar with these words: mands, echoics, tacts, interverbals. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Make sure you subscribe for all of our updates. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. We'll see you soon.